Controversial plans to cull badgers in Wales have been halted by the Court of Appeal, despite fears that the animals are spreading TB amongst cattle. Wildlife campaigners won their legal challenge today after judges said that the Welsh authorities had failed to prove that a cull would be effective enough. Around 40,000 cattle in England had to be killed last year as a result of TB. Today, Welsh ministers said they were disappointed by the ruling and remained committed to eradicating the disease. Here's our science correspondent, Tom Clark.
When culling teams arrived in Pembrokeshire in May to survey badger sets, they didn't want to be identified.
Shame on you.
Two landowners were arrested for preventing masked contractors from entering their property. Now, opponents of the Welsh cull have the law on their side.
It's been a long, hard fight, over 2 years. We have spent more than our total annual income on this, and we're very grateful for our supporters and members of the public who've helped us financially to bring this here.
The scientific case for culling badgers has been questioned since major field studies ended in 2006. The Welsh Assembly's evidence said their cull would reduce TB in cattle by 9%. That amount, the appeal court found, wasn't substantial enough to justify culling a protected species. This judgment means there's no prospect, for the time being at least, of a badger cull in Wales. And it also sets a precedent for the legality of a cull in England. And that's a problem for the coalition because it's committed to culling badgers to control bovine TB. Now, ministers on both sides of the border have nothing to offer farmers who are outraged about the lack of progress on the disease. Bovine tuberculosis rates have been rising steadily over the past decade. Last year, 40,000 cattle in England alone were slaughtered because of TB, and this means a growing bill for the taxpayer. Last year, more than £52 million was paid in compensation to farmers in England and Wales for culled animals. Scotland was granted TB-free status last year. Brian Walters keeps 400 dairy cows in Carmarthenshire. He's been under TB restrictions for 3 years and has had to slaughter 60 of his herd.
I'm quite angry that this cull hasn't been allowed to go ahead. I'm quite angry as well in the fact that what is the point of democracy? What is the point of the National Assembly when we've had all the main political parties, the majority of their members supported this cull on numerous votes, and yet we have judges from London reversing a decision, a democratic decision. I find it very, very disappointing, and I'm very angry today.
The Welsh Assembly government said it was also disappointed, but was still committed to controlling all sources of bovine TB. That includes tighter control of livestock, vaccination of cattle and badgers, as well as culling. DEFRA, which has responsibility for badgers in England, said it was studying the appeal court's judgment.
Tom Clark. Well, joining us now is the rock guitarist Brian May, who has supported the Badger Trust's legal challenge. How did you wake up this morning aware this case was going to be resolved today?
I woke up in great trepidation, thinking that hundreds of thousands of badgers would probably die if the decision went against the Badgers Trust. So I was thrilled on this decision, really.
But what about giving a thought to Brian Walters, that Welsh farmer there, who actually went on to complain he was upset that anybody in the Badger Trust would in any way be rejoicing at the decision?
I firmly believe that this is a great decision for our wildlife, but I also firmly believe that ultimately it's a great decision for the farmers, because it's been scientifically proved beyond any doubt, really, that culling will not work. I mean, instinctively, the farmers look at the badger and think, oh, there's a threat. But actually, it's been proved that culling on a small scale can actually make the problem worse. And the only way to eradicate this disease is through vaccination and better controls and better testing.
Vaccinating the badgers or the cows or both?
Starting off with vaccinating the badgers, and the treatment is absolutely available now. There are tests going on now.
But you can't vaccinate sick badgers, can you? It doesn't work.
No, but they die. And, you know, by definition, gradually, you can't really argue against vaccination on the grounds that some people are sick, otherwise we would never have vaccinated us against smallpox, for instance. You know, it's a viable technique, it's got to work, and it's very much proved that culling cannot work. So I personally welcome the decision, but I'm personally, you know, I know a lot of these farmers now, and I'm absolutely behind them in trying to eradicate this disease. It must be done in the right way, though.
But do you think to some extent that the judgment does leave it may well leave the badger population intact, but it leaves the farmers out to dry, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't, because the vaccination program is going to work, and the cull would not have worked.
But the vaccination program is said to have been cut.
Well, unfortunately, yes. but that can be reversed, and the technology is being proved more and more every day. So that's the secret. I mean,
isn't there one very seminal problem here, which is that the badger is now the top of the animal. There's no threat to the badger other than the human, and once you protect badgers, there is nobody to contain them, and their numbers are growing.
No, they're not. Apparently, I'm told the badger population is quite stable, and you know, cows have coexisted with badgers for hundreds of years. It's a whole long history which I know something about. The badgers, of course, got bovine TB from the cows, from the fact that we didn't do our husbandry right. So it's not the badger's fault that he's become some sort of reservoir for the disease. But the badger to cow transference is a tiny part, and it was shown in the hearing that it can't be more than 9% of what's going on, and that's a really upper estimate. So the real problem has to be attacked. The problem that has to be attacked is the 91% that is cow-to-cow transference.
And if a townie is looking in, knows little about badgers, how would you persuade them that badgers have any use at all? I mean, there's the old sort of chestnut of providing shaving brushes and the rest of it, but in the end, is it really worth this risk?
I don't see that we have the right to exterminate any species on this planet. I don't think we have the right to assume that we are the only race that matters on this planet. Badgers were here before we were, having a very nice, peaceful time. I think they should be left alone, and they are not the cause of the current problem.
Brian May, thank you very much indeed for coming in.